Giacomo here this evening, and Dennis is a computer IT specialist for Apple and those other people, Microsoft.
The dark side.
Tonight, Dennis is going to cover a number of issues, which will include time machines, super duper storage devices, archiving audio and video, best formats for audio, Apple security, and present-day attacks. Thanks for being here this evening.
Well, thanks.
George.
Can everybody hear me? Yes. I don't have a big voice. How many here actually back up? Okay. How many don't back up? Wow. Very good. That's what I wanted to hear. A lot of stuff's going to recap for most of you because a lot of familiar faces in the room. I know a lot of you folks do the backups and done some other things. So a lot of it's going to be a quick recap. There are some changes that I'm going to buzz through with on backing up the types of hard drives and equipment we'll be talking about. A little bit of a brief thing on Mac security because there's not a whole lot there, but there are some things on the horizon. And we'll talk about, there's a question out there about audio formats, since a lot of us now have these big iTunes archives and what to do with them as we add them to iMovie and other things we do. So we'll talk about these things. How many use Time Machine though? Okay, and how many use Super Duper? Okay, very good. Just as I mentioned before, these are things we'll be covering. You know, Time Machine, what to use, Super Duper. Some of the present-day attacks with security. Then we'll be talking about converting audio files in the best formats. And then I'm going to cover it quick so I can give you guys kind of more of an open question and answer session at the end for things that you may have questions about on your Macs. One thing I want to tell everybody, yes, Apple is great equipment. They put more quality in their hardware components than the PC side of things. However, they're all mass-produced now. Remember, Mercedes was hand-built. Now they're all machine production lines. They come out okay, but there's not what they used to be. Hard drives are the same way. We had old hard drives that lasted 8-10 years. I got ones that I've got out of the box last 20 minutes and fail on me during a setup and format. So your hard drive will fail. Not a matter of why, it's a matter of when. So please always have a backup. And we'll talk about even more than one backup. In the past, a lot of us are older in here. I'm not saying senior citizens, no one here is over 29. But what I'm looking at is everything we had growing up was all in different parts of our houses. We had LPs, 45s, 8-tracks, cassettes, mini discs, CDs, Beta, VHS, 8mm. We had all the rolls of film from the 110 Instamatics to Polaroids. We had photo albums. We had bookcases full of encyclopedias and dictionaries and all the Charles Dickens collection. And then you have more video disc and all these other things we have. We had all these parts of our houses, all our tangible assets, goods that you can pass on and will off to somebody when we leave. You can say, hey, here's my entire record collection. He's got the entire Beatles collection now for me and he's happy. I have everything from the Beatles on vinyl, things you can't get nowadays. But the problem is, when I die, my kids have something sort of tangible, only to a certain point in their life. Because right now, from here on out, it's all in that box, right here on this counter. My iTunes, my books, my video, my movies, my pictures, my whole life is in this box. The bad part is, if I bought a lot of it from iTunes, I can't just give it to my kids, unless I kind of give them my password and they continue buying underneath my name while I'm passed on. But otherwise, I can't will my books and my music and my movies or anything over to anybody, which is sad. So technically, we're only leasing this stuff for as long as we're alive. And now it's all in one box and we need to back it up. Many solutions, you guys know a lot of them. There's external hard drives, which are common, DVDs and CDs. Next one, it says they're going away. If you look at the latest Apple products out there, there is no DVD, CD, super drive attached to the unit. There's an add-on for about $79. You can buy a cheap one for $30, does the same thing. But they are going away, so people go, wow, what do I put my stuff on? The reason why it's going away is they don't hold enough information. Since I said before, everything's going in a computer, you can't get enough depth, volume on these disks to hold all your information. Blu-ray was stepping into the forefront to combat that with a 50 gig storage on a drive, or on a disk. The problem with that was everybody started streaming stuff, Netflix jumped on board, Hulu, everyone's streaming. So when everything became streaming, the DVD forefront kind of fell off, and people said, no, it's not. Apple was a big supporter, but not an adopter of Blu-ray. Some computer companies, Dell and HP, did have some Blu-ray players in their products. Didn't go anywhere. So if you walk into Best Buy now, what do you see? Used to be the whole middle half of the store was all movies and videos of all the different TV shows and movies out there. You walk in now and it's all audio products, phone stuff, headsets for the kids, and then in the corner you find a couple of little DVDs and stuff that's, for $3-4 they're trying to get rid of. They're going away. So everything we have now is going to be streamed into our devices. So I don't recommend putting anything on CDs and DVDs because at some point in the future we may not have a way of getting them back off if we don't have access to a CD or DVD. Although they'll last forever, we just may not be able to get the playing. Tape drives work well. RAID storage, I'll talk more about that in a little bit. There's a whole slew of online backup services and cloud-based storage companies stepping up. Usually we're talking a two-part feature here. When you do a backup, you have software and you have hardware. Well, the software, Apple has something built in called Time Machine, works very well. A lot of you are familiar with Super Duper, it's one of my favorites. Hard drives, there's various makers and brands, and then of course we have the off-site cloud-based solutions. For Time Machine, for what it's worth, it's easy to set up, automatic on-hour backups. Not much you have to do. It's kind of one of those set and forget. I have a lot of clients say, Dennis, I don't want this technical jib-jab. Just put the damn thing on, set it, and I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to see you again. I don't have to worry about it. No, okay. So they're happy, and I go on about my business. The problem with that is things happen down the line, and they don't know. They thought they're being backed up when they actually weren't. It works well with the migration assistant to bring everything back into the system from Apple. However, there gets to be issues with that as well. Cons, we can't change the schedule. And you need to have a large hard drive. Because the way Time Machine kind of works, it takes snapshots over an hour of time. So everything you do within an hour kind of records all your steps. And then when it's time to back up to itself, it records all those steps in increments. So eventually you can literally go back in time and say, hey, what did I do an hour ago or 2 days ago? And be able to really bring back what you were working on or lost. That's actually okay, but the longer Super Duper runs, the bigger the hard drive is, the further back in time you can go to get data. Makes sense. That's the intention for it to do. Errors and warning messages aren't clear, and that happens quite often. This is the biggest thing I noticed. In fact, I dealt with this today. Often gets stuck with its own indexing system. All that means is you get says, hey, backup Time Machine failed, delayed, doesn't work, and you look and you can't figure out. You push go, and it doesn't go, and you don't know what to do. What happens is it mucks up itself. To basically, the only thing you can do is if it's a partition, you erase that partition or delete the folder that says backup.database backup, whatever's in there, and you just delete it and then reset your Time Machine to start from scratch. The downside of that is if you had a whole year worth of backups to fall back upon, they're now null and void, and now you're starting from this point forward. So you kind of lose out. So Time Machine to me is not doing what they designed it to do, and I see more issues with Time Machine than
Dennis, is there a way around that?
No, not yet. Apple's addressing it. They're aware of the things. The biggest thing I'm telling people now, I should have the bold print on the bottom. It needs its own partition or own separate drive. A lot of folks are just didn't partition drive, and you can you can have Super Duper back up its clone, and you can have a separate folder on there for a Time Machine to back up to. But when the Time Machine hiccups, it messes up the whole partition, so you end up erasing the whole damn thing, redoing another backup from Super Duper, and then another setup from Time Machine. It just takes time, but in the meantime, you can lose your data.
Then as I divided my external hard drive.
That's fine. If you partition it,
I put Super Duper on one side and Time.
That's fine, because if the Time Machine side fails, you can just reformat that partition, which is fine. That's actually a good thing. Let's see. Basically, it just gives a little further description about the works with time capsule, and you can use any internal, external hard drive. It's a secondary internal drive, or it's been partitioned. You can use it as your primary backup if you want. It's a no-brainer for the most part. Like I said, it's a set and forget kind of thing. But my biggest thing at the bottom really says, please monitor the schedule. Every so often, look at your Time Machine, open it up, make sure it's actually gone through the motions, see when the last time it actually said it backed up. Because most of the time, it's one of those things, you know, we hurry up, got to log into the web page, oh, I'm going to create a username and password. Oh, I think it's something you put it in. I remember this. A week later, I go, oh man, what's my username, what's my password? And we all do that. Well, it happens with this. We set and forget. And actually, we think we're being backed up. In reality, we're not. So, always check anything that you're using that's on the automatic pilot, including Super Duper. I like Super Duper. I was on the entry level with this guy when he got his thing out there. It was a great product. It saved many of my clients' issues that had issues. Super Duper's brought their stuff back. I'm very happy with it. It creates a bootable clone. If we need to have a bootable backup, that's available, although that's going to be not a great selling feature these days because there's some issues with that. You can do smart updates where it performs just incrementals. It gets all your data. It gets the entire operating system, plus all the applications you've installed, all the data you have, it puts everything back right where it belongs. It's my kind of program. And it supports scheduling. You can make up any schedule you want. In fact, mine does a tiered backup. Mine starts at 9 o'clock to one device, 9:30. When that one finishes, 9:30 goes to another device, and then from there at 10 o'clock goes to a third device. I know that sounds crazy, but I'll explain the method, my madness later. And you can do custom backups. That's kind of what it is. Now, it's the same thing.
Sorry.
No problem. That's $1.
George?
$25.
$25.
All right, make sure mine's off. The cons, I mean, there's some issues with Super Duper. I mean, creating custom backup sets can be a pain in the butt. One of the things I don't like about Super Duper, if you've used it, when you have a schedule already set, say you have it set for 9:30. When I click on schedule to edit or look at my schedule, the first thing it does is when you hit schedule, it brings down a new window. And it says, you're like, well, oh, it's set for 9:30. I set mine for 2:30 a.m. Why is it that way? So then you fix it. Now you look in the main window. Now you got 2. You just added a secondary schedule. It doesn't, that always pops down. It's one of those annoying features.
Now, Dennis, go up to window and there's a place where you can look at your schedule and not create a new one.
That's true, but that's one of the common, see, most people do it this way like I do, and this is the issue people see. And I get to their house and they go, well, it started, it quit, it started again, it quit, it started again, it quit. I don't know what's going on. Well, it followed all the schedules one after another, and so it's driving people nuts. That's one of the things I didn't like about it. And the biggest thing is it does not work well with Carbonite. How many use Carbonite here for a backup online? Nobody, okay. I'm not real big on cloud-based storage. I got my reasons. It'll get better down the road. But Carbonite does a snapshot like Time Machine does its own snapshots for itself. Carbonite does the same thing. And every hour or so, it's got its little temporary hidden file of all the changes. Well, when Carbonite calls for it, it sends it up there. However, if Super Duper kicks in while that file is invisible but visible to it on the desktop, that's where it keeps it, then what happens is it starts backing up, and then Carbonite finishes the backup, and Super Duper gets halfway through and goes, well, there's a whole bunch of files that was over here. Where'd they go? And then you get this big error that says, Super Duper failed. And you're going, why did it fail? And then you push manual backup, it runs fine. The next day, it does it again. It's because it keeps catching in a different time frame the Carbonite doing its sending job to the mothership in the cloud. So I don't recommend running Carbonite at the same time Super Duper did. They're actually, the guy's working on it, but the problem is he can't bypass the visible file that Carbonite puts there. Bootable backups, it was one of the pros in the beginning. Now it may not be as beneficial because if you don't have Thunderbolt or FireWire present, you really can't do it. You can technically boot from USB 2.0 and 3.0. It's definitely slow. Just think it's actually not happening until you come back an hour later and go, hey, look, the desktop, it's on the screen. It's real slow. But Thunderbolt is great. They're expensive drives. They're just coming to market still. They're coming down in price. So, and unfortunately, Apple's bringing out such new equipment so quick that the peripherals are just catch up and they're still pricey. So all of us who've got these old FireWire hard drives can't just plug into the back of a new iMac unless we get an adapter or buy a Thunderbolt drive. So it's kind of an annoying feature. But USB 3.0 or 2.0 works just fine. As long as you got a backup, that's all I care about. Because I can get your data out of it. I don't really care if it's bootable. Let me just tell you, it works great with Time Machine. So it plays well with Time Machine, doesn't play well with Carbonite. And you can, choose any backup destination you want from multiple drives, and even supports network backups. As far as I'm concerned, as far as backups are concerned, I don't care what you guys do, as long as you have a backup. I prefer a clone. If you use a Time Machine, it's just good enough. But just monitor your stuff and make sure you have more than one copy at least. Preferably one off-site, because, give an example, one of my neighbors, she called me in distress and says, I don't know what you can do for me, but here's my scenario. Somebody we knew in the neighborhood came into their house and targeted her. She's the sweetest girl in the world. I don't know why she was targeted, but took not only her computer, but specifically took her backup drive. The only two things she took, there was money on the desk, there was things that they took. It took her backup drive and her computer. Unfortunately, everything, her kids are young, so everything she's had for all her kids and everything was in the backup drive on that computer. She has nothing. So, and there's not much I can do. I have some friends in the police department as well as the pawn shops trying to maybe help locate her computer if it comes back through, and I'll do a forensic, recovery if I can. But most likely, it was personal at this point, so who knows what they've done with the drive. But it just gives you an idea that it can happen that simple. And I always tell people, have more than one backup. It's okay to do one once a week, take it to a safety deposit box, and at least at least something's off-site somewhere else. It's about the best we can do. Because otherwise, our whole life is in these stupid little boxes. Different types of hard drives out there, the typical rotating platter drives, needle on a record kind of thing. That's traditional. That's what most of us are experiencing most of our machines. New ones to the game are the SSD drives, the solid-state drives have no moving parts. We'll talk more about that in a minute, and then tape drives for backup. Traditional drives are great. Right now, I know they got capacities up to 4 terabytes. I think 5 and 6 terabytes will be out mid next year. I can't believe we're getting that far on hard drives. Speeds up to 1500 RPM, which is great. Faster is better. They're affordable, and they're very quick. So if you do audio and video, these are the drives you want to work with, because when you're moving big chunks of data back and forth, these drives can access quick. SSD drives don't do that. Cons are noisy, they get hot, they have lots of moving parts, failures can occur in less than 3 years. Remember, they're mass produced, they're not as good as they used to be. And not much more we can say about the typical drive. They're just a needle on record phenomenon.
Dennis, are there more than 2 drive manufacturers now?
Western Digital is actual manufacturer.
Okay.
Seagate is a manufacturer. Hitachi is an actual manufacturer.
Okay.
Maxtor is actually a manufacturer. Although I think Maxtor got sucked up by one of the other ones.
Yeah.
I think there's a total of 4, and they're all in the same part of the world. So, and they had a flood about 9-10 months ago, and it caused a delay. And things that were $99 about $300 overnight. So there are a couple. There's supposed to be some more companies coming online, but they're going to be making these things here. Solid-state drive, they're great. They're energy efficient, so it's great for battery life on MacBook Airs and MacBook Pros. They're fast to a point. No moving parts, lightweight, way of the future. Okay, that sounds all well and good so far. You save the battery life. They're quiet. They don't get hot. They're small. Okay, here's the cons. They're very, very expensive still. Small capacities. I'm working at 3 terabytes where I am, and that's just with my crap. So I can imagine only having 256 gigs. I can't do anything with that drive. That's also including the operating system and then adding all your applications to it, not your personal data. So that's not a very big drive. The biggest thing is the way this thing records data is basically a big memory chip, and it uses data algorithms, mathematics, Einstein stuff to say, okay, I got 5 places to store stuff. I'll write this one every time, and then, okay, I'm going to write over here a little bit, and then write a little bit over here, and then, oh, okay, some here and some there. But what happens is it has to try to keep track of what block and sectors get written into. These things have a read and write limit per section, I think up to 1,000 times, give or take. Well, if one of those sections fails, well, guess what? The whole darn thing becomes shot. It doesn't have, the way the algorithms are written, it makes it very difficult. So when they fail completely. One of the things no one's been able, I've got questions out to even the manufacturers for some of the drives. My problem is a flash drive, just like a flash memory chip. You guys have all seen memory chips before. I mean, just taking a little pocket drive here, plugging it in. The mere fact that I undo this, put it inside of my computer, I can actually erase this from a little bit of electricity introduced to this thing just to make it activate. I can erase what's on here. Not much to it. Well, that's the same thing with this. If that's just a big flash chip, memory chip, in my opinion, then what's to stop one little surge or little muck-up and then the whole drive's empty. So I get a little leery of these things because they're new, they're great, that's what they're trying to tell us, but I don't want to move that fast into it until I see how much better we do. Data recovery is difficult. At least with a needle on a record theory, if the needle breaks, I can take the records out, put them into another device, and get the data back. This is just a flash memory chip. Do a lot. I got to get a special box. It's very expensive. Special connections, and then it runs these data algorithms per the manufacturer to try to find data. It's a nightmare. It's not easy to do. And like I said before, you got limitations on how many times you can write to a specific sector on the drive.
So what are you suggesting? Don't use them for backup?
I would not use them for backup. And if, like Apple's doing a Fusion drive,
Yeah.
so basically the operating system is on the SSD drive, which is very fast. But it's doing things that are non-moving data, just an operating system kind of sitting stationary and only being called upon to do data, then they're very fast. But when you start accessing iTunes and moving volumes of music or iMovie, you need to have a regular traditional drive. I think that's why Apple's adopting the Fusion feature, so that all your data is kind of like a bounce drive. It's on a spinning platter, while just the non-moving stuff is on the SSD.
How much more is a 15,000 RPM?
Well, they're affordable, depends. The problem is you can't put them in everyday computers. They're more for servers. I think the most you can put in most computers, I think, is up to 10,000, only because they're so fast, they're loud, and they get hot. So you have to have cooling capabilities. If you look at half of Apple's stuff nowadays, it's all getting to be this thin. So
you really are stuck with the 7,200.
7,200, maybe 10,000. They got 10, 12, and 15,000 RPM. Servers running at 15,000. Tape drives are great. These are awesome for backup. Very reliable. This is what most businesses use. Big companies, you can even do it if you're small, like these at doctors' offices and things. These work great. Problem is they're extremely expensive. That's just what it is. They're very expensive. And, you know, they're magnetic, so they can break and have failures as well. I don't talk much about tape drives. They do work. My favorite stuff is this little guy here. Drobo. How many have heard of Drobo? Anybody? Very good. You've heard of RAID technology? Basically, the way RAID works is you got multiple hard drives in a box. And in the traditional RAID, this is drive 1, drive 2, drive 3, drive 4. Well, technically, if a drive fails, the whole thing can be out of whack. But depending on how it's configured, there's a lot of different ways to do it. But replacing a drive, it can be easy to get everything back and keep up and running, or it can be very difficult, one way or the other. In a RAID system, all the drives got to stay in the same place. If I decide to pull out each drive, mix them up, push them back in, it's not going to work. So, on Drobo, it's a little different. It has a technology called Beyond RAID. And the way it works is you could have, most units now have 4 or 5 drives, and you could do single redundancy protection or dual redundancy. And all that means is all those drives, I can pop them out, put them all back in different order. It doesn't matter. All my data is still there. While it's running, I can walk over and pop a button, pull out a hard drive. Didn't lose any of my data. I could be streaming a movie out of this box and grab any drive at random and not lose my movie being played or lose my data. It'll yell at me, but it's not going to lose my stuff. So I do like the Drobo protection. They've done a couple things. This is very good for hardware mechanics. It monitors your drives, lets you know when a drive is getting sick, when a drive is getting full. It lets you know all kinds of stuff, pretty much with idiot-proof lights. And it tells you what to do, when to add something, when not to do something. It's really cool. Their newer stuff has this new little thing with a battery I put up top. I'm going to remind myself to tell you about this. The biggest thing that fails for all hard drives, including our computers and backup drives, is a dirty shutdown. Who knows what that is? Just pulling a plug. If FPL, which are so great with their electricity, you know, our surges, our brownouts, the inconsistencies we get all the time, this stuff is delicate equipment. This stuff doesn't do very well with that kind of stuff. So a dirty shutdown, the computer may or may not come back on after a power outage. The only reason is it may be in the middle of writing an index or its own file structure to keep track of where everything is. If it's halfway finishing, it's, well, I'm going to have some stuff here, some stuff, it dies. You go turn it back on, it says, can't. Hard drive's bad. You see the data's there, you just can't access it because the index and table of contents basically got corrupted. Their new devices have a battery in them that actually, even if the power, while it's running, I can yank the cord on it. The memory capacitor of that battery stores and rewrites the whole table index cache for the entire drive. So now I'm safe from dirty shutdowns. You're going to see this feature in a lot of newer drives. A great, great idea. I don't know why it took so long to do it, but it works.
How long will it power the...
Well, the Drobo basically will be lights out, but behind the scenes it'll write to the index on the drive just to power it up. I haven't got more about it. All I know this is what the feature is designed to do, to write to the...
Is backup built into that? Is there a duplication of
What it does is it keeps track of its own stuff. It basically takes your data, breaks it up into chunks, and then it puts bits and pieces all over the drive. So really, at random, you can yank out any drive and never lose your actual files. So that way, if a hard drive fails, it's not launch. You walk over, push a button, pop it out, go to the store, get a new one, push it in, and walk away.
But it must be written in 2 different drives.
It's written in all of them. If there's 5 drives there, it spans it out over 4 or 5 of them. And you also have redundancy, so technically you can lose up to 2 drives at the same time and still not lose your data.
The voltage regulator mechanism, if it's used properly and maintained, does it have the capacity of preventing most of those dirty crashes of your hard drive or not?
Well, here's the thing. The battery backups, like I have one up here, this one from AAA, it's an older model. It does have the voltage regulation built in. So that monitors the brownouts and the blackouts quite well. However, it's got a battery on it. The older it is, eventually the battery wears out. So technically I might have had 30 minutes of runtime. So if I was home and power goes off, I could save my work, shut down, and walk away. But if I'm out shopping, lights go out, and this thing is in the middle of doing something, and that thing battery goes dead, well now I have the potential of losing my data anyway because I ran out of battery life. So you're limited on your battery.
But if you shut your computers off when you leave the house, wouldn't that prevent such a
Yeah,
happening?
that prevents that, but you still got to be careful that having a battery backup that'll protect you from the surge that comes into the wall.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you won't have a dirty shutdown, you just don't want to have a mechanical failure from an over surge coming through the wires. So oftentimes, this is isolated here because this will do just fine. But a lot of people have the Comcast internet modem or phone DSL, and it goes directly from the modem into the side of their computer. Well, that's going to, if the surge comes through the coax line from Comcast or through the phone line from CenturyLink, it goes directly to the motherboard, fry your system. So this thing in the back actually has coax and Ethernet ports that takes the hit and everything else is supposed to be safe. That's the idea.
That's one reason that I say, even if you only have one computer, you should have your modem connected to a wireless router so that your devices are never connected to.
I agree. And wireless is fast enough now, you don't have to have anything hardwired. I agree with you, Jerry. It's a great idea.
What does something like that cost for the average Joe?
Drobo starts around $399. And we'll talk about that in a second, pros and the cons. It's got a whole bunch of pros. This is going to be in a PDF that I'm going to give to Jerry. Yeah, you're going to have to shrink it down. It's kind of big. I knew you were going to yell at me about that. But, that does a lot of different things. If you get a chance, go to drobo.com, watch some of the videos. You'd be excited. You're going to want to buy a device. I've had one employed now for 4 years and been very happy with it. My wife's got one for her business. I got one. I have one on the network. It works well. The biggest problem is, like anything that we like and works, it's expensive. I mean, I think they're between $300 for the 4-bay model, and then the 5-bay models now that have Thunderbolt and USB 3.0 built into them. They think they start about $599. That's just the box. That means you got to go out and buy your hard drives. They are expensive, but they work. The reason why I push this is only because, what did I say before? Where's all our stuff? It's in this box. I want to be able to get that back if I can. And it's like anything. Thunderbolt, that's the new technology that's out there. If you look at the speeds, we thought FireWire 400 was phenomenal. 800, my God, it was awesome. We were waiting for 1200 to come out. It kind of didn't. USB is slow. USB 3.0 is now appearing on the Macs. Very fast. Very happy with 3.0. But Thunderbolt, it's crazy. It works very fast, but can be finicky. So imagine transferring a 50 gig hard movie under 30 seconds. That's pretty quick.
Drobo, how does that hook in?
Drobo can go USB 3.0, but backward compatible 2.0. Some have FireWire 800, and the new ones now have Thunderbolt.
Oh, they do.
So
they're quite expensive, though.
They're expensive. They're about $600. But they're all going to come down in price because it's going to become the mainstay. It's just getting it here. Again, like I said, as far as hardware, I don't care what you guys do, just as long as you have a standalone drive. I like the Drobo stuff, but always make sure you have a backup drive somewhere off-site. You got to have it somewhere else beside your house, or 2 places in your house. If you got a safe, put one in the safe. This is the new thing on the planet. Everybody and their sister. It's kind of like opening a little storage shop on 41, and everybody's opening up their own storage facility, trying to sell you storage. Well, that's kind of what's happening out in the virtual world. They're selling servers, space, and Carbonite's a decent company. Mosey, stay away from. What did I just say? Okay, good. Why? Because Mosey does not do a file integrity check, which means when it leaves your computer and gets there, it doesn't check the file at their site versus the one in your computer. So we don't know if it got up there broken or not. So if it gets up there and you go to call it back, That's the only copy you got. If it's broken, you're out of luck. So Carbonite's very good. A lot of people are using Dropbox. I actually kind of like the way Dropbox works. Box.com's another one out there. iCloud, I'm a little miffed at Apple. I mean, I like Mobile Me, it was there. I had the iDisk, I could put stuff up there. There's a lot of stuff we all could do with Mobile Me. And I'm really wishing that iCloud will evolve into that. But I think the problem was we added the rest of the masses, you know, the dark side people from Windows to the Apple products. We got to get out of our niche and kind of open up doors to everybody. But hopefully they'll change that. Google's going to have their own system soon. There's more coming. Do I recommend any of them? It's like anything. We have to have an internet connection. The biggest thing we pay for at home is our download speeds, right? We're like, oh, I got 30 meg down from Comcast. Woohoo! Well, the upload isn't the same speed. It's a lot slower. So if you've got 3 terabytes at the house and I'm uploading at, say, 1 megabit a second, I can start today and maybe by August next year I'll be complete. So, and you laugh, I actually have a doctor, good friend of mine, he's at the end of the run his facility. He's an oral maxillofacial surgeon. He has DSL. He's paying for the 5 megabit package. His download speed is less than 480K. That's it. He's not even half a megabit. His upload is 96K. He's got dial-up connection. We've been fighting with CenturyLink for a long time, but because his phone lines can't be ported over to Comcast for a better service, he's stuck with DSL. This is his whole practice. He had a prior computer guy to me a year and a half ago set up Carbonite, and I went there to fix a problem for him. I didn't see any backup drives. And I said, where's your backup stuff? He goes, oh, no, it's all Carbonite. Really? I walked up to the computer. If anyone's ever seen Carbonite, just save a couple folders on your desktop. They have little dots next to them. If they're yellow, it means they're thinking about it or in transit to get up to Carbonite. If they're green, they are backed up with the server. His stuff was all yellow. And he's got radiology, tons of patients, all kinds of stuff, all these pictures. And I said, wow, it's been running now for a year and a half, and you're not even halfway there. I'll let you know this year, in beginning of November, it actually completed his first backup after almost 2 years. Because the backup speeds. So, I'm not a fan of that. Plus, you know, you have to have an internet connection. At least this way, if the internet goes out, I have all my files with me on my box next to my computer. As long as I got power to my box, I can actually get something off the hard drive and still work with it. It's tangible to me. It's right here.
Yeah, backing up an iPad is iCloud, right? That's it.
To a point.
What else?
Well, you can back it up to the computer. See, what I do is I'm not a fan of it. I let the cloud push and pull my data for calendars, bookmarks, and contacts and notes. But I back my iPad and iPhone up directly to the computer, so it has a backup feature. So if I lost my iPad, I just go buy another one, hit restore from my last backup, and it puts everything back the way I had it. And that way, it's all based on the space in my computer. The iCloud, you start running out of room, you got to start purchasing space. That's the other issue. I got too many apps that I try out, so it's kind of, I'm not a fan of the iCloud. I'm just not. How often? From day one, if not, do it right now. It all depends upon what you need. I tell people to do it daily, that way you don't forget. I have a lot of people who don't want to say, oh, you know, I'm working on a computer, super duper pops up, I just hit the button, tell it to go away. The last client I went to see, he let it go away for 6 months. Well, when I finally backed up, it was 18 gigs of data. I'm like, you would have been all over me if I didn't push that button. So now I got it to work. Anytime he turns the computer on, it actually backs up automatically. But try not to skip your backups because it's like anything. I'll get to it tomorrow. It's a year later and we forget. I do recommend separate drives for Super Duper and Time Machine if you can. If you do use Drobo, you can partition it if you like. You can make multiple volumes on there, so that way you can actually partition it out. And like I said, you got to go an off-site somewhere, safety deposit box. Let's see.
Dennis, what do you mean by RAID?
RAID is just it's just basically it's more than one hard drive that make up. It's a cluster of drives that make up one brain. And it kind of has an infinite number of volume storage and speed.
If you recommend a couple of external hard drives, do you daisy chain them so that they're always hooked up, or
sure.
you have to?
I have mine. I have a Seagate 3 terabyte just standalone drive. It's FireWire 800. That's plugged into my Drobo, which is FireWire 800. Then I have another FireWire daisy chained off that. I think it's a 2 terabyte. So basically, I have my Drobo holds my entire iTunes collection and everything else because it's able to grow. But I want to back up on my Drobo, so that goes to another hard drive, and then I have just a bootable backup. I could use a Drobo for it, but I put so much on there, I don't want all that stuff coming back to my main computer in case of a failure. So I have a separate standalone drive that does that. So I have 3 drives for myself because I got so much stuff. I think if you have at least 2 drives, I think you'd be safe. Because unfortunately, even in bad times, if you think you're backing up, this way if you do them, you can stagger your backups too, in case you got a bad system going bad. That way you're not pulling over bad data. It's another issue.
You mentioned before your super duper backs up 3 times sequentially. Why? What are you doing that?
Why? Well, it's because I'm having 3 copies made. So one goes from my Macintosh hard drive to my first bootable backup, and then from there it goes from Macintosh hard drive to the Drobo, and then I have the Drobo back up to another outside drive. So the Drobo's got a backup. So it's one of those things, I know it's kind of petty, but you know what? I have one client, you're going to laugh. She's got 15 hard drives. If I'm lying, I'm dying. She's got 15 hard drives lying across her kitchen counter. Her kitchen area is one, I'm talking a wire nightmare. I've never seen so many wires in my life. I don't know, what are you doing all this? You know, she's E5. She's got a ton of pictures. This is her life. She goes, oh, I don't want to lose my stuff. Well, this one I back up to it. And she went down her whole spiel. It had pages of notebooks of everything she was doing. I'm like, wow, I think you're nuts. But damn, God bless you. This is really good. I need to talk to half my attorneys, law firms that don't have backups. You know, this lady's got it going on. But yeah, she's a little over the top, but I give her credit. And she kind of inspired me to have kind of more than one hard drive. You know, like, maybe I should have a couple more because it makes sense. Let's jump into Mac security. Our DEF CON level right now, we're DEF CON 5, which means we're relaxed. Not even DEF CON 4, we're not on alert for anything, we're at 5. 1's bad, 5 is good. Antivirus, not needed. How many have antivirus on their systems? Good, if you did, I'd say take it off. Sophos, antivirus, Norton, there's a lot of ones out there you can put them on your computer, but there are problems with that. Anti-spyware, that's the malware bugs, that's not needed right yet, although those bugs do exist. The Mac OS and the iOS, as we know, do not have viruses yet in the wild. So that means there's nothing out there that you can open up an email and get. It's not there yet. It's coming, but it's not there yet. Adding anti-anything software may and will harm your system. Prime example, we are 10.8.2 for Mac OS 10.8 Mountain Lion, right? That's what we have. If tonight I have Sophos on my system and it's updated right now, in 20 minutes from this point, Apple says here's 10.8.3, my computer goes, gets it, installs it, all of a sudden, when the computer restarts, Sophos is going to go, warning, 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 we've detected malicious activity. Push the big blue flashing light right here to quarantine the bugs. And you're like, and then you go, oh, thank God. Oh, restart, all right, restart. Ooh, blue screen of death, not good. Oh, I must have had a virus. No, you didn't have a virus. You had healthy code that got added. Sophos didn't know what it was yet because it wasn't updated. So it said, well, I'm going to kill whatever I think that is. And it did. So Apple Store, coming from the Even a Genius bar, take it off your computers. Okay? When it comes, we'll know about it.
Always true. There are a master and an apprentice.
That is true. It's a cat and mouse game right now. One of us is on top, one of us is on bottom. Right now, Apple is winning the war with Mac security. Eventually, it's going to bite us in the butt. But the current day malware and spyware stuff that you see on MacFixit.com or on Mac Rumors and stuff that comes out, you've heard of Dr. Webb out of Russia. The biggest problem with that is the people reporting the problem are the ones in the problem. They're doing things illegal. They're bootlegging movies. They're bootlegging software. They're bootlegging music and books and everything else you can bootleg over there. We pay for it here. They steal it over there. I don't know why that is, but they do. So, if you frequent questionable websites, file sharing sites like everyone's like, oh, file sharing, it should be free. No. You go there, you get the Adobe CS6 suite for free, and you get a little something, something extra. And that something, something is a bug. And once it gets in the system, because once you install it, the computer says, do you want to install CS6? Hell yeah. You put it in. You also put the bug in there because the hacker altered the code. And these are coming from file servers all over the world. So we don't know if it come out of Russia, out of Iran, Iraq, we don't know. It's just coming from anywhere in the world, and that's what you're going to get. Stay away from those sites, you won't have any issues. When Apple gets its first true virus in the wild, the world is going to know because it's going to make international headlines. Oh, Apple's finally got a virus. And even then, we go, whoopee-doo, it's just one. How many are out there for PCs? So we got a ways to go. Current software solutions, like I mentioned, Sophos, Norton Antivirus, offer a minimal arsenal of tools. All that means is the weapons they give us, they don't have anything to fight. They will help you when someone forwards you that funny thing from their Windows computer has a virus in it. We don't get it, but we could pass it on to one of our other Windows friends, and they can get it. But we can be a carrier, but we're not the ones getting it. So it will stop that kind of stuff, but it slows your system down like anything. It's just not worth it. Now I'm going to kind of go through some of this stuff fast because it's boring, but there were questions out there about audio formats. So I said, hey, can't tell your IF files from WMA files? And people are hearing, what the hell is he talking about? Basically, these are just computer formats on how our old vinyl records go from being on a record player into our computer. It's a million different ways to save them. There's so many different formats, there's so many different ways we can do this. It's all based on size. Years ago,
All based on what?
size. Our hard drives years ago were small. So the MP3 has been around a long time. It's been around since the 80s. A lot of people didn't know that. And the CD's been around since, what, 1980, 81. Actually, I think 79, originally before it went to market. So CD, digital technology, and MP3s have been here a long time. But as we know it, because the hard drives are so small, when we took an album and put it into the computer, like the Beatles album, well, it made them in MP3 format, so basically it locked off some of the high frequencies and locked off some of the low frequencies and just gave you this mid-range frequency. It's usually between 60 hertz on the low side for the low and up to 16,000 kilohertz on the high side. Well, our human ears hear between, or feel between 20 hertz, which is low, all the way up to 20,000 kilohertz. And most of us don't even hear in those ranges because we all have some type of hearing loss through our ages or whatever we're exposed to in our environment. So, Bose speakers, how many have Bose? Okay, well I don't mean to insult you, but here's what the pros say. If there's no highs and no lows, it must be Bose. Bose plays mid-range frequency only. That's why you get these tiny little, pretty little cute speakers on the wall, a little hidden subwoofer. It sounds okay. They play mid-range sound. But if anyone's a purist like me, I had a recording studio, I'm into audio, I'm into video. I want frequencies down to 8 hertz, things that you can barely feel, that are the lowest 3 bass octaves that rumble a house. But I also want the highest octaves that the synthesizers and voices like Pat Benatar and Celine Dion can reach 19, 20,000 kilohertz. If you're at 16, you're missing out on Celine Dion. So it's one of those things. So in order to keep it small, they lock off stuff. They cheat the system, which I don't like. There's universal formats. A lot of them are based on whether it gets streamed over the internet, as a constant stream of data, or something we're archiving for down the road. Let's see. All this is boring, so that's why I was going to see if I can just cover the truth stuff and make you happy. Okay. We got sample rates. You've heard of things like, you may have seen like a recording rate of 44.1 kilohertz by 16-bit. It's all technical mumbo-jumbo. Basically, it's how many times per second. It's 44,100 times per second that it's taken a sample. And then 16 bits is how deep the layer is going. So the more samples you have, and the bigger the bit, the bigger the file. So the bigger the file, the better the quality, closest to real as it gets. When you start cutting it down to something smaller like an MP3, now we're using 8 bits, okay, it's much smaller. You go mono, cuts out 2 channels, so it's even smaller. So yes, instead of having, example, we can take Strangers in the Night, Frank Sinatra, a 2.5-minute song roughly. It's about, it's almost 42 megabytes in size. That's an actual WAV file. That's what the Microsoft IBM goes by. Apple goes by AIFF, or the IF file, and that's about the relative size. But when you put it to, press it down to an MP3, it's like 1.2 megabytes. And you go, wow, I go from 30, 42 down to just 1.2. It's cutting off these things. It cuts out what it thinks it don't need. It uses mathematical equations to say, well, your ear hears about so much. We'll just tweak it down to where that sweet spot is and everyone's happy. But if you have generic headphones like little earbuds, you know, and these little Dr. Beats, don't buy the Dr. Dre headsets. They're not worth the money and they've got poor frequency response. But people are spending $300 on them, so I'm doing something wrong. The problem is the quality's poor. So when you have a small file playing through small headphones, it's going to sound good because it can't do the full range of sound. Remember the old days? We had the big guys, come on, work with me here. We had the big Serwin Vegas, the big Yamahas, but we all had the big surround sound like equalizer. We had all that stuff. We did. We did. They were as big as we can get them. Now we got these things that are tiny little buds that we're sticking in our ears, and they're not the same sound. I mean, my dad had headphones that come out to here, and it looked like he had these I Prince Slave with these big knobs on the side of his head, but they sounded great. Now it's tiny little buds. Well, it's what you put in is what you're going to get out. So now they're making bigger headphones because the kids want better quality. They are beefing up the sizes on these files. As far as I'm concerned, the easiest way to say about all this is it depends upon what you're going to do with it. If you say you take Strangers in the Night from Frank Sinatra, we get it into the computer. I bring it in as a full-size file, as an AIFF, because I'm using Apple. If I'm using Windows, I'll save it as a WAV file. It's full size, so that's a full 42 megabytes. I want it as big as it gets. Now that takes up space in my hard drive. I got 100,000 tracks I got to bring in here from CD. I'm going to need more hard drives because I'm going to fill up my drives with big data. If I compress them into MP3, depending upon what one I choose, I can get them all in on one drive. So people go, I want all my songs, or I got to go out and buy a Drobo that then said it costs a lot of money. Well, it's all what you want to do with it. For me, I bring it in full as it gets because now at this point I can do what I want with it. If I want to say, well, Jerry's got a class coming up, he wants to borrow some music, I can trim it down to an MP3, shoot him an email with it, and he can add it to his lecture coming out this little speaker here. It's going to sound great for everybody. I'm not trying to impress an audience, but it's going to sound good. Now, if I'm going to be at the Philharmonic and I'm doing a big presentation, which I hope that happens someday, and everyone's there, I'm going to play some music through here. I'm using a full-size audio file to take use of those big-ass speakers they have in our auditorium, so it sounds great for everybody. Because if it's garbage going in on a good system, it's going to be amplified as garbage coming out. So that's the reason why, in this way, I like to have full quality. I can downsize it to whatever I want. Because then MP3, MP4, like I've done ringtones with Apple. I'll take a full-size file, take a chunk of it, and then it steps it down to a little MP4. Not much to it, just a little ringtone and phone, a little mono speaker. I don't have to have anything fancy. So I can take a full-size file, trim it down to something small. So I always bring my stuff in full size, and at the end it'll show you which one it is here. Let's see, bit rates, it's all boring. Encoding types. People ask about compression. You've heard of lossy, lossless compression. All that means is how it's going to play back and how compressing. Some work like a zip file. You guys know what zip files are, or a stuffing file. Works the same way. Some of the compression will basically zip it. That way you don't lose any integrity of the file. So it's actually very close to CD quality. So when it plays back, it's like unzipping it and playing it full again, which is kind of cool. But it takes a lot of processor work, a lot of mathematics behind the scenes to make it happen, and it plays in full. How many have listened to an MP3 where it kind of hiccups or stops playing halfway through? MP3s have that phenomenon because they lack the ability to stream in certain compression mode, so it's called a hiccup. And then people think, oh, something happened to my computer. No, it's actually the file being played back. So it's not full size. But you can see this example, a 3-minute, 44-second song, and that WAV or AIFF file, what is it, 86 megabytes? If it's a FLAC, that's a free converter. It drops it down a little bit, not much. Apple lossless, which Apple touts, down to 40 megs. It's still a big file, but much smaller than the original. And then if we take it all the way down to a tiny little MP3, it's at 5 megabytes. What's going to sound better? One on top. Because obviously if you're taking something away, something's missing. And that's the biggest thing.
So I got a CD and I put it on iTunes. What do I have?
A CD is recorded at 44.1 kilohertz by 16-bit. So if you bring it in it's actually as a WAV or AIFF file. That's what's on the CD. If you import it in the same exact way, which you can change the settings to do.
Do I have the choice?
Yes, on importing you can change that.
I didn't know I had a choice.
It's in the preferences. You can look on it. You can see that. You do have options. It's not open as you can see, but there's little buttons you can push to get to that part to bring in. I think its default is MP3 or AAC for Apple. AAC. And then you can change to MP3, but I set mine for the full quality just to get it in. Lossless kind of works the same way. Let's see. There's different ways they compress things, but again, it goes down to how you're going to do it, and it makes a smaller file. Most of the time, our ears don't know any better. We tease our ears all the time. Give an example. How many have cars that have the anti-noise in the cabin where you can, like a Lexus, you can hear sirens outside but you don't hear them inside the car? Can you guys have any of those cars? They work pretty cool. The downside is it's like throwing a pebble out in a pond and you see the ripple effect come out. Well, basically they create an alternate frequency that kind of keeps the ripple from coming out. So basically they cancel each other out where you actually don't hear the sound. Well, the problem with it is that frequency your ears still hear, although you're not registering it, you're still hearing it. So at some point we're creating damage for our hearing, even though we don't know it yet. It's kind of a weird way of looking at things. Well, since our ears get bombarded daily by different frequencies, different things we're exposed to, whether we're conscious of it or not, you know, we lose our hearing to different things. So what may sound good to me may not sound good to you guys, and vice versa. There's different file formats, a whole bunch out there. I like to keep mine the biggest I can get it and then convert it later. But if you say, hey, I got a boat, I want to fill my iPod up with 10,000 songs and stick it on a boat and I don't care what it sounds like, then go for it. You can make them all MP3. You can export them that way and it's not a problem. Let's see, more boring information. This will be in a PDF that you guys can look at. But I think you just want the stuff that actually works. One of the big things too about data input, our ears hear stereo, right and left, okay? That's why most things are right and left. We don't hear surround sound, we feel surround sound, but we hear right and left. We have 2 ears, we don't have 5. So it's kind of fun to go, oh, I want to hear surround sound, but the back speakers never seem to work. No, that's only when they encode something like the guy sneaking up in the woods behind you where you hear that, ooh, that was weird, behind you kind of thing. But really we hear everything from the front or the center channel, it's just one speaker. Audio streaming, when we compress and record things, when it's 44.1 by 16-bit, it's by 2 channels. That's right and the left. That's stereo sound. Remember quadraphonic years ago? I remember quadraphonic. Okay, that's 4 separate channels, which I think is a pretty cool thing. Well, we can have multiple channels inside these layers, inside these files that we do as well. And then again, the more channels you have, instead of 2, the bigger the file. The less channels you have, we can make everything 8-bit mono. And we can have the file so teeny tiny, we can put 1 million songs in an iPod Nano, and it'll fit. It'll sound like garbage, but it'll fit. So it's all based on what you want to keep and what you want to throw away. Let's see. Every audio format has unique limitations. What I want to show you is there's a whole list of all the different, just like how many options are there for banks in this town. Because wait till you see how many different things are for formats. Let's see, here we go. The common ones, MIDI, if you ever play a keyboard, yeah, don't expect to read all this stuff because it's boring. But MIDI is like for keyboards, they record things at a MIDI level. They sound really crappy played back live, but when you're playing the song, it sounds good, but when you hear the recording, it's terrible. Real audio, how many have heard of Real Player? It's a compression rate that allows them to stream stuff over the internet continuously and not have any issues. But it's low quality, but it works. AIFF is Apple standard, Wave standards with IBM and Microsoft. Those are 2 common that you'll find in almost every CD on the planet. We have MP3, it's been around since the early 80s. It's here, it's just, it's the oldest, but it's also the smallest and worst quality. WMA is Windows Media Audio, and that's good for streaming as well. You'll see a lot of websites to stream. You go WMA, you have to have a converter for it. Let's see. I think while you get a lot of flexibility with the WAV and AIFF files, which are great, and the reason why, even again, to reconfirm why I do it full size, if I'm working with Adobe Flash and doing a web page, I can take the actual size file, like a song, like I want to come up on my web page. It'll put it in there, it can down convert it into Flash all by itself. So I don't have to go to any special conversions, the software does it for me. So there's a lot of stuff out there. Keep it in its original shell container, and then whatever you're working on, let it downsize it for you. So Flash does it, it's a great feature. Uncompressed versus lossless, in my opinion, if you leave it at 44.1 kilohertz, which is standard for 48, 24-bit, those 2 are actually pretty close together. To me, it's about 10 megabytes per minute if you want to do a minute ratio versus a file size. So, of course, again, as I said, the better quality, the bigger the file. I say universal because some of these things are going to disappear in time. Wave has been here, AIFF has been here. A lot of others are too, but some come and go, some are popular, some aren't, some are old, some are newer. But this is the start of a whole list of which one should you choose. And they tell you what a lot of them are. And you'll see some of these on your play around when you get around the internet. You see WMA files, role player files, you'll see OOG files, there's all kinds. WAVE, AIFF, and it says list 1, list 2. Oh, hang on, it gets better. List 3, we still have more. UsePack is coming to be a popular one. MP4, there's the iTunes store file. Nero, Jukebox Windows people. OOG is open source. So there's a whole bunch here that they're still coming. So which one's the best? Like I said, don't do all these different ones. It's not needed. Depends upon what you're doing, but I told you before about lossless. Basically, it zips the file and then uncompresses it when you need it. So it's very minimal quality loss, which I like. That's what AAC is from Apple. But AAC has a hard time on Windows, therefore, you have to convert it for it. Bit rates, it just tells you how it samples the data and how it gets it all together in one audio file for yourself. And again, I talked about before, sampling the size, whether it's mono, being small, stereo a little bit bigger, quad channels even longer. So the more channels you add, the bigger the file gets. Does it make a difference? It all depends on what you're doing. As far as recording, this is stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Somebody's, depending upon the codec or the decoder which is used with the compression file, whether it uses a constant bit rate a certain way, it monitors the bits in a line and the frequency rate. You have variable rate, which is pretty much the average for most, and then you have AVR, which is kind of mixed in between both variable and an average itself. Does that really matter? No, because the codecs have that stuff built in. But it just kind of gives you an overview. These are all the sampling rates as far as the frequency is concerned. So at 8 hertz, that's like the walkie-talkies or the telephones. We're down at 44.1, that's an audio CD, and it tells you about all the different things that are usually covered by that frequency range. And it just goes up, you see how high those frequency rates go. And it's like the super audio CD, when House of High Fidelity, I don't think you've been in there, but they have a super audio CD. Those things are like $2,000, $3,000. They're at a high formatted rate. I mean, the files are huge, the discs are expensive. They sound really good, but to be honest with you, again, my hearing is my hearing, and I don't even know how good I am in the range of hearing things. I think I have a good taste for sound. I've listened to a set of speakers with that being played, and then I went and grabbed a regular CD of the same song, put it to the same speakers, and kind of went, wow, I didn't really notice the difference. And of course, the guys selling the product, didn't you hear the difference? Wasn't that awesome? She's the best. I'm like, yeah, for $3,000, buddy. I want to, like, you know, I can't tell. I really can't. So I think keep it simple, stupid. The problem is we have too many options out there. It's not just paper and plastic, and I think that's part of the problem. So for me, here we are. The recap is simple. Recommended formats, AIFF or WAVE or AAC, which is Apple's normal stuff. There's the basic rate. CD quality is all we need right there, and it's fine. You can get a little bit more bit rate if you want, go up a little more sampling if you want. To me, that's what the industry uses as standard, that's what's adopted, that's what works. So to me, I keep it the same as
Can I play all of those on an Apple computer?
Absolutely.
Everyone?
Everyone.
Without,
Actually, Apple...
without converting it. I don't need a converter.
Nope. It plays WAV files. AAC is Apple's format, and AIFF is Apple's format. So you have access to every bit of it. And again, as I said before, you can compress any song you want to something smaller, just fit it on whatever you want to fit it on. But playback systems also affect the overall product. Like I said, Bose has limited range. You know, if you've got a high fidelity system, it's going to yield a better product. If you've got a low fidelity system, you're going to yield out a lower product. So there's a lot of factors involved in playing back things. We all try to do like, oh, I want the best, the best, the best, the best, and find out like, well, sadly enough for me, I had a recording studio. It was a big studio, and I had about $125,000 in this. I had every piece of equipment that every big facility you could go to in Nashville had. I had all that. And I was told, oh man, you gotta have the best cables. The best cables make a difference. All right, so I went, I spent $20,000, $30,000 on cables. I kid you not. I had more black wire. I think I could go from here around the equator twice. That's how many cables I had. The downside is, I found out that it really didn't matter all that much. You wanna know why? When you go out and buy a nice surround sound system, it comes with some cables in the box, right? Maybe a little package Orbit. They're not chiclets, you don't need them. But you know, what's in a box are these little cables. And I look at those cables, and someone says, throw those away, they're garbage, you don't want that. Okay. So I read the specifications of what my frequency responses are, a little bit of a gearhead looking at this stuff, going, all right, well, let's see. If I plug in a monster cable for this 3-meter section, cost me $200. Doesn't make it sound any better than the cheap one that came in the box. But guess what? The wire can't exceed specs. The specs are what they are. Those wires meet the specs. I can't exceed them. Of course, I can go worse if the wire's bad, but I can't exceed them. So then why spend the money on the cable if I can't make it any better? You get people to buy gold-plated 3-meter cables for coax for Comcast. Oh, I have Comcast, got a new modem, I got new this. They spend $60 on a cable this long, they screw it to the wall, and they plug it in the back of the TV and go, look at that picture. And I'm like, yeah, but it's gold-plated for 3 feet. What about all 200 feet of it that the contractor put in at low-grade RG59, not even RG6? So this is going to sound bad, but you can't polish a turd, okay? It's only this true. You can't make it any better than what it is. I'm sorry, but sometimes I learned the hard way. I lost a lot of money, and now I know better. Live and learn. Wish it was the other way around.
So what kind of cables do you use?
Actually, nowadays I use a couple different brands. I use one that's actually made out of Italy, and it's called Cordex. And it's actually it's a good price cable, and it's got a lot of flexibility. I look for a better coating on it because sometimes some of this coating wears. Whirlwind is another brand I use. That's what this one is, and Cordex. Those are 2 I use. But for monster cable, I say stay away from it. If Best Buy's selling Dynex, what's their brand? Dynex, that's their brand. It's just fine. Don't buy the monster cable. You're spending too much money on something that does not work. It's overkill. Anybody have any questions? I know some of it was kind of jumping around, some of it's kind of boring, but we can go all day long on audio stuff, and you guys will be like, okay, I just want to get the hell out of here. So.
A comment about your external hard drive.
Sure.
When we have ourselves a hurricane and you need to evacuate fast, just unplug it and take it with you.
Absolutely. That's what I would do, take it with you. And grab a computer if you have room for it. But if it's, one of those things. See, the nice thing about where we live is, we know what's kind of coming. It's not like we have to be like, oh God, we don't show up. Like an earthquake in LA pops up out of nowhere. We have time. So we can be smart, save, do a good backup, take our stuff with us, put things in safe places. It's the smartest thing. If you put things in a safety deposit box at a bank, if you got room for a hard drive, put it in a Ziploc bag. Those units are not waterproof. Contrary to popular belief. Technically, they're not even fireproof because if the bank gets hot enough, it can melt your drive if the fire's bad. But at least far as it'll protect most of the cables from the ceiling or whatever.
Just to add to what I said, before this, as the storm's approaching, take a camera or something and photograph everything in your house. Just walk into a room and scan the room and put that in the hard drive, the external hard drive.
That's smart.
The insurance company's going to want that.
I agree. Any other questions?
Are you recommending 1Password for it?
No. Here's my thing. It's a great product. It's like anything. When a developer makes a product like SuperDuper, I hope the guy keeps making it, or it keeps going if the guy quits. My problem with 1Password is it's a great product, but if the guy decides, hey, I made my millions of billions of ED for the rest of my life, when 10.9 comes out, all of a sudden I need to get a new computer, and there's no way to get my stuff out of it, I'm going to be upset. So, a lot of people don't make copies of their passwords. People don't. I do printouts. I just keep a pages running sheet, and I do all my usernames, my logins, my security questions, everything possible, my account number. And every time I make a change, because every now and then we got to make stupid changes, and now we have to have a capital, a number, a symbol, and I make a date next to it saying this is the date it was changed. That way I don't get confused, or whoever looks at it behind me can see what I'm doing. This way I have a printout that's in my desk. I got a printout that's in my safe. And then, honestly, I made a fictitious contact up in my contact list. And in the notes section, I just copied everything and pasted it in there. So if I'm on the road and I need something, I can go to that contact and look up all the information that I need. So I just keep it with me. It's just kind of, it's not the best way to do things, but for me, I find it works better. I just don't like to put all my faith in some of the software. I've had a lot of software out there I loved for years, but it's no longer here. And AppleWorks is one of them. Not that it did anything database-wise, but I love the ease of AppleWorks, the fact that it's a drawing program, a painting program, a database program. I just love AppleWorks. I'm so disappointed that program's not here. Pages is there, it's okay, but it's not the same.
What did you say, Vicki?
Me too. I'm still not over the change.
It's hard.
Are you recommending off-site storage both for a time machine and for a super duper backup?
Just take one of them. I mean, to me, I like the super duper backup because I know I got the operating system. And to me, that way, if I have to buy a new computer and hit restore, all my apps, all my printers, all my settings, it picks up right where I left off. That's the part I like. That's the biggest thing. Time.
I have super duper in my computer, and it will automatically, of course, I have to set the automatically back up at a certain time during the night. And I have been there when it has actually completed the backup, and then it asks to do it again.
That's because you have, as I mentioned before, when you get in there, click on schedule, a window's going to pop down, hit cancel first. That window's going to go back up, and you're going to see a list of the backup start times behind it. So you should only see one in there. If you see more than one, you got to delete one of those. So basically, it's running after one. So you might have it set to run at 9:30 3 times. So it runs the first time, and when it's done, it picks up on the second one. When it's done, it picks up on the third one. So you're getting 3 backups just all together.
Right.
Are you letting your computer run all day and night?
My computers run 24/7. I only turn them off when things are bad. But mine, they're made to run, and you know, it's like anything. The worst, I don't know how it is with a computer, but I think when things boot up, that's its most critical time, just like a car. When it sits out overnight, when you first turn it on, let it run a little bit before you put it in gear and drive down the street. So it's kind of one of those philosophies. I don't know. I leave mine on all the time that way, because people go, oh, you know, my computer boots so slow. Well, why is that a problem? Just turn it on and let it go. They go, oh no, every time I use it, I turn it off. So 3 to 4 times a day, they go in, boot it up, wait for all that stuff to happen, do their email, shut it down, leave, go back, do it again. I mean, that's just silly. We pay for internet package. I want my internet when I want, you know, 24/7. So, anybody else?
Remote speakers, they're battery driven. I mean, they're small now.
You mean like the Bluetooth, the Sonos
yeah,
systems?
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
They actually work good. They actually sound nice. I mean, they'll play whatever you put through them. You know, again, the problem with anything wireless, remember, everyone in this room wants something wireless and more. The problem is we're running out of bandwidth. That 2.4 gigahertz frequency is being bombarded. So remember, we have our Bluetooths in our phones, our Bluetooth headsets, we got Bluetooth mouse, keyboard, we got the Harmony remote is 2.4 gigahertz, the phone in the house is 2.4 gigahertz, the microwave oven is 2.4 gigahertz, and then that's just, you know, some junk I have in my house, not counting my neighbor that are here, my neighbor there, my neighbor back here. If we're all using the same frequencies and we're all adding more crap to our houses and cars, well, eventually one thing's going to cancel out something else. Something's not going to work, or something's going to keep dropping off. And you know, every now and then I've had issues with a keyboard that will fall off. But one of my kids is using a wireless keyboard that keeps trumping mine for some reason. So if his keyboard's off, mine works.
Follow up on the question. George is commenting that he doesn't think that Bluetooth, we got a Bluetooth speaker for the club.
Okay.
His opinion, as I remember, is that we're not getting as good fidelity as when we plug. So Bluetooth is cutting out some of the spectrum also.
I think so, because it's all this being streamed.
Okay.
So, and plus, it's a remote speaker. Anything that's direct wire is always going to sound better than something wireless. It's just kind of how that works.
You know, it's interesting because when you go into the stores and you can push the button, those are wired. Those aren't, in other words, you're testing a Bluetooth device, but you're really not hearing the sound you're going to hear.
Well, it's funny because, you know, my kids go to Costco's and iHome, you've heard that company, they got all the little clock radios and gazillion assortments of all different models. Vizio, everybody makes one. Well, so I take my phone out and I got a lot of music in here and I'll stick it in each one, and they all sound like tin can tinny. There's like, and of course the one that has the most bass is this freaking big and of course a lot more money, and of course that's the one I want. But it's just one of those things that my son's like, oh, I want the little one because it's cute. You know, it's got the lights up, blue, purple. Like, I don't care, but it sounds like crap. Why would you want it? You know, to them, he's not thinking that way. He wants something that's cool that meets his taste. But to me, I'm looking for practicality. I want to thump the bass. I want to kick it up a notch. So.
Do you have any specific headphones you recommend?
Yes, actually, you've heard the Beats by Dr. Dre. They're out there. You're going to be hard pressed to find a frequency response. I was telling you, like, you know, what the range is on them. They don't post it. That's how bad they sound. Monster, which they're not even a speaker company, they actually have a headset for the same price. Actually sounds better than Dr. Dre. But in my opinion, Sony, Shure, and AKG For $99, you can get a nice set of headphones. They're studio professional headphones. Go to sweetwater.com or fullcompass.com, and you can look at AKG. They're the KE series. I think they're $99. The Shores have one for $99. These headphones sound phenomenal. They sound great. They have good fidelity, good range, and they can plug into an iPhone. And then they got a full range adapter. You can go right into a big stereo system if you need to.
Sony, Shure, and what else?
And AKG.
AKG? And they're as good as Bose?
No, better. The Bose is bad. Just remember that. Bose bad. They misled us all these years. They used to have nice speakers years ago, the big 401s, the old different series and stuff. But now they've just, you know, people don't want anything. People go, I don't want to see wires, I want wireless. I want speakers this big, hide in the wall, one other there, but they want them to sound good. It's like, you can't do all that. It's like, I want my MP3 this big, but I want to have the big sound.
Would you tell us again what the quality of sound coming in through Comcast or our TV is?
Well, again, that's variable. It depends on, first off, how good your service signal is coming in from Comcast. Let's just say it's good. It depends on the wiring to your house. That's number 2. 3, it depends upon what it's going into. So if it's going into your TV set, is it going into their basic HD box? Is it going into their super box that has all the HDMI out and stuff? And even then, going into your TV set, are you playing it from tiny little speakers that are built into the set that have a limited range? Or are they coming out into a nice surround sound system that has better quality? Again, many factors. But I think for the most part, Comcast, everything they're streaming is good quality. It's full stereo. It should be the CD quality.
Is there a sensor that one could, relatively inexpensive, that will quantify those wavelengths that one could monitor or check?
Other than just doing it from the outside, I mean, there's a real-time spectrum analyzer, and I have one that I keep on my phone. So when I'm listening to sound, it gives me decibel range, it monitors the frequencies and kind of lets me know where the high and low sides are things, or I can see if the low is present or the high is missing, and it'll tell me those things. So there's an app for that. There's free ones and paid ones. There's a lot of different things out there. But as far as quality is concerned, we've gone backwards. Even with TV, we've gone backwards. I mean, think about it. We all had that 25-inch RCA console that was 600 pounds. It didn't move once we got it in the house. You know, we all had to bend over. Remember, no remotes and turn channel, tune in the rabbit ears. They had good pictures. I thought the Sony Trinitrons were awesome. And TV was in a square. Everything was 4:3 aspect ratio, 480 lines of resolution. It looked damn good. Out comes these flat panels. Now we can get a 60-inch for under $1,000. But when we go to watch the Brady Bunch, yes, I must still watch the Brady Bunch, or Andy Griffith show, it looks terrible. You go, wow, man, I bought this great TV. I put a Blu-ray disc in. It looks primo because it's high def to high def, 1080p to 1080p. When you have an old show that's done in 480 lines of resolution, it has to be up converted internally to fill up your whole screen. It looks jaggedy, fuzzy, not as clear. And then remember, everything that Comcast produces in their high def channels that they're broadcasting is not high def, and they state that as well. So you may watch one show, looks, damn, that was a great picture. Next show after that, well, it's like lousy. What happened to my TV? So we're paying for something, they're offering us something, and we're not getting it. So that's frustrating. And most syndicated TV, all the stuff we're used to watching, all the reruns and everything, is all old school technology. So we can't make it any better. I like Seinfeld. It looks terrible on my my LCD from Sony. It looks terrible.
Dennis, what do you think of the sound bars that you have?
Sound bars are nice. I think they're a nice complement to a room because you don't have to have these speakers all over. And half the time, most people never set them up right. Or the rooms, no room is a perfect square or rectangle. You know, most have open areas. We have tray ceilings. We have solid floors. The sound is terrible in surround sound systems for most people's homes. The sound bars are nice. They're inexpensive, and some come with a wireless Bluetooth subwoofer. They sound great.
Which ones would you recommend?
Polk Audio. Go to Crutchfield.com if you guys don't know about Crutchfield. These guys are Crutch, CRUTCHFIELD.com. They're a company for audio and video for car and home. Best prices. These guys know their business. You can call them 24 hours a day for help. Polk Audio makes good sound bars. Infinity.
Polk?
Polk, P-O-L-K.
Oh, Polk.
Yeah. And Infinity, they're another one that make great sound bars. Mirage, there's a couple out there. And you don't have to spend a lot of money to get a very, very nice sound system.
What is not a lot of money?
Under $300.
Really?
And you can get a wireless one, you know?
They actually, yeah, I looked at one the other day, it was a, Samsung has one that I put in for someone yesterday, and I didn't even know it had a subwoofer because he put it in for me. But on the side, I was just testing out the signal. It has an optical audio input in from his TV. It come out the nice sound bar in the front, and the subwoofer picked up on the side. It sounded great with her. I think he spent $400 on the whole package. Costco's had a few. You know, $500.
I created some playlists in iTunes, copied them onto a flash drive, plugged it into the USB port on my Samsung flat screen TV to play those particular playlists. It did not recognize the format. Any idea what format for the music I should use for that?
Well, it should read MP3, and it should read WAV, and you'd have to look at, see what you're importing your songs within. So you have to look in your preference. Give me a call, and I'll go through your settings with you so you can see what it is. Some of the TVs are proprietary. They want them done a certain way. Some will tell you where to go to get the directions on how to convert it. A lot of it's Windows-based.